Hello and welcome to the DC Stewart Show Podcast. My name is Derek Stewart and I'm accompanied by my kinfolk here today, Isaah and Najee. It is a Friday, October 17th, and we're into it and we're almost done with this month of October, but we're happy to be here. We're running a live stream today. We're live streaming on YouTube. We're live streaming on Facebook. And folks, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing that we can get together with you, which we consider you family, and all of us talk about topics together. And we got a whole show today filled with very, very hard-hitting topics and good topics just in general. Make sure you hit that like button because of that algorithm, and make sure you subscribe to us because our channel is growing, and it's growing at a rate which I'm very happy with, because, you know, you go up quick, you come down quick. We coming along just in that right stride that we got the football in hand and we're running with it, and all of the defenders are chasing us and they can't catch us because we right out in front of them. So just be aware of that. We hope everybody's in good health and good spirits today, because it is a good day whenever you can wake up and be able to move and talk and, you know, interact with your loved ones and people who you love and care about. So we will go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the things that we're going to talk about today, and then I'm going to bring in my kinfolk real quick. We're going to be covering the Miami-Louisville game, which is going to be happening tonight. I think it comes on at, I believe, 7:30 Eastern time and 4:30 Pacific time. So I'm going to watch it here, and this is going to be a fantastic game. Both teams are solid. Miami is equally as more potent than they have been in years. So we're going to dive deep into that on the breakdown of what's needed for Miami to win the game, what Louisville needs to do to try to win the game on their end, which they're going to come up short. But I'm going to leave that for all of the other pundits to make a decision on that. Also, we're going to go into the coaches that were actually recently fired from a week ago, but there has been some movement and some talk of some coaches that might be on the bubble as early as this week. So we're going to cover that. We're going to go into a tribute to D'Angelo. D'Angelo is an R&B, neo soul artist that came out, and he hit it hard when he came out, and it was just amazing what this brother could do. And he passed away at 51 years old from pancreatic cancer. And we, our hearts go out and our prayers go out to him and his family. Technically his son, Michael Archer Jr., which he's lost his mother earlier in the year, which was Angie Stone. And I was heartbroken about that one as well. But we'll cover D'Angelo's tribute and some of the music that he brought to the table and how he changed music altogether at the level of R&B and at the level of neo soul. So we'll talk about that. And we have some other things we're going to be talking about, mainly that we'll get into as we go into the show, because we're going to go over some of the NFL news from the week, and we're going to go over some NBA news from the end of the week, and we got some Major League Baseball to stick in there today. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in my kinfolk. Isaah, how the hell are you, brother? What's up with that hat? I love that hat, my man.
I'm pumped, man. Listen, I almost wore some Miami Hurricanes gear because I'm an all-you guy, baby.
You're 305, man.
Yeah. And they got to take care of business, man. And I want them guys to be focused. Do your damn job out there, bro. And we'll have a victory. Send them boys back on up that road. Louisville, spanking, getting them good whooping. Send them on back up the road.
Well, so Louisville seems to be a formidable opponent, so you can't underestimate them and take them lightly. Miller Moss is a really good quarterback. He played for USC out here, and then he lost his job to Maeva. And basically, he transferred to Louisville, and he's been doing well ever since. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. I got some Freebird Tony notes that Tony went over with me last night, and we're going to talk a little bit about Tony's notes as it applies to this game today, because Tony is a Miami. He's a 305 guy as well, and he's really one of our most favorite followers, and technically he's been supported us from day one. So if you're on board, Tony, welcome. We're glad to have you aboard, and you can discuss this in the comment section with us today, and we'll talk about that. So in the meantime, I got Najee here, and he's got a shirt on, and what does that shirt say? Stranger. Does it say Stranger Things?
Stranger Things.
So break that down to us a little bit and let us know what Stranger Things stands for.
Well, of course, this is that's it's a show, but I'm talking about Stranger Things. It's Stranger Things that's going on in the NFL, because guess what? The Steelers should have not lost to the Cincinnati Bengals last night.
And Joe Flacco was the starting quarterback, right?
It don't make no sense, man. It makes no sense. Bro, it makes no sense. Jamar Chase got 16 receptions last night. That's crazy. 16 receptions is crazy for one player. You mean to tell me one player is that dominant you can't stop him from getting the ball? Come on.
Yeah, and the Steelers' defensive secondary, you would think they would have kind of adjusted and keyed down on him a little bit better than they did, but obviously they didn't.
Exactly.
I just couldn't believe it.
No sense.
To see them guys in a game like that,
one player. They couldn't stop him. Now, beginning of the game, they had the tempo. I was like, oh, but they might not let the Cincinnati even score. As soon as they let up a little bit, they could not stop them from catching the ball. They kept on moving the ball. It went from them being up to they trying to catch up. Made no sense, bro.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin, Coach T for the Pittsburgh Steelers, he had some words, I believe, over a week ago regarding that Joe Flacco trade. And, a lot of people were asking the question about why did he comment about that Joe Flacco trade? That's none of Mike Tomlin's business. Whoever trades it doesn't apply to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm assuming, and this is what I'm going to just say from my end of it and the perspective of it. He didn't want Joe Flacco in the same division as the Steelers for whatever reason. I don't know why.
He got traded in the same division, which is crazy. Normally it doesn't happen, especially mid-season.
And it doesn't happen mid-season, so I guess that what Coach T was kind of referring to, and it kind of came back last night, and he should have done something about it because he had every reason, and he had the players on the Pittsburgh team could have done something about that too to ensure that they don't lose that game to Cincinnati, which they did last night because Joe Burrow wasn't around. Yeah. And like you say, Jamar Chase having all those receptions to me is just a hit on Pittsburgh's secondary, and they got a lot of work to do, and that's what we'll definitely cover a little bit later for sure. And I'm glad you brought that up, Najee, because the NFL is kind of right in the midpoint of the year, and we got some teams that we'll be talking about and some coaches we'll be talking about as well. I welcome Tony in once again. Tony commented, "Good day, my Hurricane brothers." Good day, my brother. Good day. It's a good day today. We love you, Tony, here. So
beautiful out there.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining the DC Stewart Show. I'm so enlightened and so enabled to be here. By the way, we're on TikTok now, too. I wanted to bring that up, and we're going to be loading a bunch of content into TikTok in the next 24 to 48 hours. So look out for that. And we finna light TikTok up. We finna bring, we'll repurpose some of our, videos from past shows, and we're going to stick it on there. And I want to send a shout out to a little bit of everybody, mainly those Dodgers, the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're up 3-0 on the Milwaukee Brewers right now. They are looking fantastic. I mean, the Dodgers, to me, that team makes me proud being a Los Angeles resident here, to be able to see this team overcome some of the things that they went through in the regular season with injuries and players, not being able to play because of that. And they one more game away from waiting on the World Series. So we'll see what happens. I believe they play tonight. And if they close it out tonight,
they surely do.
They'll just be waiting on Toronto and Seattle. And you know what? Toronto and Seattle are very good teams, but I don't think they match up against the Dodgers in terms of that Dodgers pitching rotation, and that pitching crew that the Dodgers got is just one of a kind. And by the way, Mark Jacob, the owner of the Dodgers, classy guy. I love Mark Jacob. He's a very upstanding guy. Magic Johnson is a part of that investment group that owns the Dodgers. And it's one of the best franchises in baseball. I could say that without a doubt. A lot of people talk about Boston Red Sox and the Yankees, but I think the Dodgers is just in a class all by themselves. So, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you this once, and I'm going to ask you this again, and I ain't going to say it no more. Where the party at?
I can see where you go with it, DC.
You see where I'm going with this?
It's right here. It's right here in 2026.
The party's right here, big dog.
The party is here, and Tony is here with us, and we jumping all over this party today. And let's just start with a tribute to D'Angelo. Michael D'Angelo Archer was an artist, and he was an R&B musician, as well as him and Angie Stone. They kind of brought neo soul to the forefront. And man, oh man, oh man, we wake up every day as we go to bed at night, and then we wake up and we hear about some of our most favorite musicians and favorite artistic people who are in the movie business, just in the arts in general, as well as sports and every other industry, because we don't hear about a lot of industries, but a lot of good people are leaving us, and that's kind of a sad state of affairs. I'm just saddened by the whole thing, because at the end of the day, we all live to love, and we all live to be accepted, and we all live to be liked and to admire other people's accomplishments and everything. And D'Angelo had a lot of accomplishments. He had in his career, it was somewhat of a small roller coaster, I would say, right in the mid portion of his career. But when he came out with Brown Sugar, that was one of the biggest singles off of one of his albums. And I tell you what, it hit so hard when I heard that song. And I was driving along one day and I heard that song on the radio, and it just brought back a lot of memories of a lot of groups back in the 70s and the early 80s, throughout the 80s, of his talent level to be able, from a vocalist standpoint of view, as well as his ability to be able to play the piano the way he played the piano, as well as the guitar. He played bass guitar, and the brother was just really, really talented. And, it's kind of a sad thing that, at the end of the day, we can admire what D'Angelo brought to the table, because he changed the dynamic in culture in America for a lot of different genre groups, because he did write a lot of music as well, and he was able to parlay that into, as a guest on other people's albums, other artists' albums, and he just did so much for the music community in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to go ahead and kick this thing off and start with Isaiah, and just, Isaiah, can you break down D'Angelo's career as in a nutshell of how he came out and how he, was able to maintain that, and the brother traveled the world spreading that good music. So tell us a little bit about what you saw.
Well, you covered a lot of it, but one thing you didn't dive into is his upbringing, and that upbringing in the church, and that always a foundation of the R&B singer. When you got that background of being in the church, and his father was a pastor, and they started out in really, really poor, and to see people have that solid foundation. When you in the church, you get a chance to sing in a choir, lead sing, and play different instruments, and see it's nothing phony about that when you grow up like that, because that stuff is not like you learning in school to learn how to read music and all that stuff. You get a really, really hardcore foundation when you grow up in the church, because you got that older people that's like molding you into the artist that you wind up being later on. And it's just the way you said it. I mean, it started with these guys in the 60s and the 70s and stuff like that. And for him to come up in the church and learn how to play the piano and the guitar, and then branch off to his own and get in, writing for other artists and stuff like that, because that's actually how he really became big because he wrote songs for other people, and then he ultimately got his own record deal. But man, to see how his creativity just exploded when he got on his own, when he was able to just be creative, to do things exactly the way he wanted. And you didn't have to have that record company leaning on you and say, okay, we're going to do it this way and do it that way. And when you get a guy who just don't have any harnesses on him and go ahead and do things just the way you see fit as an artist, and that's what he started doing. And then he became a sex symbol too, because the girls was crazy about it when he took off his shirt and he had his pants drop halfway down to his freaking waistline, and people was going crazy. The girls was loving it. Those videos that he made, and then had his shirt off, and then he had his hair braided backwards and stuff like that. And it was setting a trend then. But I mean, it was edgy, but it wasn't slutty and nasty the way some of the stuff was going. This people showing too much now, but it was just right at the edge then. But yeah, man, it was a sad commentary to see him passing away, and as gruesome as that pancreatic cancer can be, I'm glad I didn't see him deteriorate. I'm remembering him how he used to be, because I've seen Patrick Swayze and other artists.
Absolutely, I was really sad when Patrick Swayze passed as well. He was such a talented
pancreatic.
Yeah, that pancreatic cancer is something that's deadly.
Job, man.
And if you're ever diagnosed with that, it's a very slim chance that you will make it, depending on what phase.
You got to catch it super early.
You have to catch it super early for them to treat it, because your pancreas regulates your blood sugar, and it regulates so many things in your system. It's just kind of, to me, the pancreas is the next most important thing behind the heart, because everybody breathes with a heart and lungs, right?
Yeah, but the severity of it is just like your heart and your brain, because
exactly.
I don't know I don't know anybody who whooped that pancreatic cancer. Man.
I haven't known anyone either to overcome it. I've known
people to beat prostate cancer and lung cancer and breast cancer, but I've never seen anybody whoop that pancreatic cancer at all.
Yeah, so, the thing about things like that, if you don't catch it, and if it's in the late stages, any kind of cancer can take you out. So Najee, tell us a little bit about your experience with D'Angelo. I know he came out in 1995, technically, with that album, and that album hit the shelves real hard. And you were 6 years old, so yeah. But you have heard his music, though, right? And you can kind of break down a little bit about what you picked up from his R&B sound and his neo-soulism.
Yeah, anything with R&B soul, I love it, because it has a different flavor of music, and then it's real soothing. If you can be mad, you can be sad or whatever. You listen to that type of music, it kind of calms your soul. I really love that type of music.
Right. So he had three albums that came out.
Yeah, he has he had three of them that came out.
He had Brown Sugar, Voodoo, and Black Messiah. And those albums, every single one of them were just hit. I mean, he had hit after hit after hit after hit. And I want to make a correction here. His name was Michael Eugene Archer instead of Michael D'Angelo Archer, which I mentioned earlier.
Well, D'Angelo was his stage name.
And D'Angelo was his stage name. So I'll make that correction as we move along here. He co-wrote and produced the 1994 single "You Will Know" by the R&B supergroup Black Men United, and he wrote some of the songs on that.
Tribute. That was a big tribute, DC,
yes,
for humanity.
Yes, and he grew up in Richmond, Virginia, so he's very familiar with that Northeast. That Virginia corridor where they had a lot of artists come out of there. Pharrell, Teddy Riley. From God, and that was a group back in the day as well.
Missy Elliott, I think,
and Missy Elliott as well. Yeah. So they had a lot of talented artists to come out of the Virginia to be able to come to the forefront and jump all over the genre of R&B soul. So he covered neo soul, progressive soul, and kind of a jazz fusion in between all of that, because if you listen to some of the chords and some of the bass lines and some of his songs, his tracks, it's just very very talented, and it's a uniqueness to his sound. So when you listen to a D'Angelo song, you could just go back and say, look, that's his signature sound, right?
Yeah. hmm Yeah, absolutely, DC. I mean, you don't hear stuff like his. He had that distinctive sound where the first couple chords, is him. I mean, it's not like
Exactly,
he's
it's him.
jacking
Yeah.
nobody's
Yeah.
track or
You
none
don't
of
even
that
have to
Exactly.
know
stuff,
the
man.
song.
Exactly.
You don't
Yeah,
have to know the song. It's if you hear it from a
yeah,
distance, you'll be like, "Ooh, yeah, that sounds like D'Angelo." And
yeah.
then you'll tune in and try to, feel the music out.
Yeah.
See,
So
his
we
music came in around the time that a lot of good music in the 90s was hitting. Just between 95 to 2000, when you
right.
had
Yeah.
Keith Sweat, you had Johnny Gill, then you had Joe, you had Drew
Guy,
Hill. Who else? You had
guy
you
was
had
in there.
you had a yeah
You had Aaron
yeah
Hall
who
from Guy. Yeah, Aaron Hall was a
Aaron Hall,
special
yeah.
type of
Yeah,
talent
guy,
as
yeah,
Yeah,
well.
Aaron Hall.
yeah. At that time, music was just coming back to back, easy,
Hmm.
easy.
And
The
what was
way
nice about that too, Najee, you had those guys who the groups that you just named, they were actually emulating the 70s because a lot of the 70s music was live music. And see, D'Angelo played most of his stuff live. He recorded it live, the guitar and the piano and stuff. He recorded all that
mm,
stuff himself live because most of the stuff now is being done on machine. So it's easier to do. But back then, you got to play that stuff and you can't mess up. Don't try to do the whole thing because they had like a reel to reel they were recording on. So you miss
Absolutely.
one thing, you got to go do the whole thing over again.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was analog. It was
yeah,
highly sophisticated analog equipment, but
hmm
analog is
yeah,
completely different from digital. I mean, we're in a digital
yeah.
age now where you can literally make a song in your living room or in your house. If you have the
And
right
not only that,
software and the
you had a couple
soundproofing of your
buttons you could
room, you
correct it.
good.
Yeah, you could correct it with just a hit of a button, even if you were singing off key. If you
Exactly.
sing a song off key, you can't even you don't even have to really know how to hold a note. But
True.
that thing will correct your vocals, man. It's amazing. I mean, it's very when things used to be time consuming to do that stuff, you can do that with a split of seconds of
Absolutely.
correcting vocals. Yeah,
Absolutely. So
yeah.
we send our prayers and our thoughts to Michael Archer Jr. We're here for you, and we hope that that you can move forward because it's going to be some grieving in the process. But your parents will want you to be strong, and they will want you to move on and be able to accomplish some of your lifetime goals and dreams, and be successful, and it'll make both of them proud of you. They're not here to tell you that, but they will be proud of you. So just keep that in mind. So cheers to D'Angelo. Our man, we miss you already, and you're gone. He was 51 years old, by the way. So let's move on to this next Annie Brown topic, and we're going to kick this topic off talking about the University of Miami's football game tonight against Louisville. And Miami and Louisville has somewhat of a history. I mean,
Yeah,
the
they've been
Louisville
classic,
Cardinals has always been a formidable program, even
yeah.
back to as far back as I can remember when Mark Clayton played there. And a lot of people don't remember Mark Clayton went to Louisville. He played football at Louisville. The
Mm-hmm.
wide receiver, the retired wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
And Louisville always kind of, had a program where they weren't below average, but they weren't super above average until Lamar Jackson got there. And Lamar Jackson was one of the few Heisman Trophy winners to win a Heisman Trophy at Louisville when he played at Louisville. And I can't believe the U and all of those other schools in Florida let him get out of South Florida, because I believe Jackson played at Pompano Beach, right? I think somewhere up in that corridor, or Deerfield Beach, or one of those
Pompano
cities. I
Beach
can't
resident.
be completely
Pompano. That's his
Pompano.
area.
Yeah. How did
Mm-hmm.
Miami let him get out of there to go up to
Well,
Louisville?
when he came out, Miami had their glitches going on, so
Yeah,
I don't know how we let him escape. But you got to remember something. He didn't just escape from Miami. You in Florida State, or Florida didn't get him either. So he probably was a
the
lifelong
whole
dream
state of
because
Florida missed
understand
out.
something. You got to think about it. He might have been a guy who admired Teddy Bridgewater and the guys who came before him. and he probably was looking to go to Louisville because that's the way that thing happens sometimes. When you got a little kid that grow up and admire a certain quarterback and they get an opportunity to go to that school, he would defect and go to that school and leave his hometown heroes backwards, man.
That's
So
true.
that could be very well what happened. Yep.
So here's the deal with this Miami Louisville game, and I want to go into some of the things, and we'll start out with Tony's comments. And I'm going to ask you guys a question based on Tony's assessment of what is needed. And let's start out by saying what Miami needs to do tonight to get this game handled and to handle it handily. I mean, to handle it where they're not even in this game to the point where Louisville will be close to them. I want Miami to be able to understand it. This is a game you can't underestimate and take lightly with the Louisville Cardinals coming to town. So Tony basically is saying Miami needs to establish the run from the get-go and keep running. So, Najee, I'm going to ask you about that. Do you think Miami need to establish a dominant running game with Mark Fletcher Jr., and that'll open up other things on offense for Miami, according to Tony?
Of course, because when you open a running game, that opens up everything.
True.
Because now you got to respect both sides of the of offense. You got to respect the passing. You got to respect the running. And what I told you, they just like what you said, that Louisville is a very respectable team and they got a good quarterback. They need to lock in the second half, man, because they haven't done it pretty much almost all season because they be so dominant in the first half of the game that they second half they really almost don't have to do anything to win. They have to give fourth quarters of focus on offense. The defense has been holding out well because if their defense wasn't holding out well, they probably would have lost at least half of these games because they don't score in the second half lately. So they need to lock in, man. They need to lock in.
I
That's
know
the
they
only thing I
struggled
can say
against
for them.
Florida
They
State.
have
It's
to
like
lock in.
they just hit a complete slump against Florida State
And
from the
if
third
they-
quarter on into the
if they
fourth.
even gave them anything in the first three quarters, they would have lost that because the fourth quarter they crumbled.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Isaiah, tell us a little bit about your assessment of what the offense needs to do based on what Tony said about that running game. And that running game is balanced. It's powerful. Shannon Dawson, he calls the right plays, and the way that their offensive line is blocking now, that's one thing is for sure. Their offensive line is leap years ahead of the past Miami offensive lines when it came to the run game, right?
Yes. And that's one thing I was going to mention before you got detailed into this running game. My assessment of this game, when you establish this running game and the way it will sustain, the Miami Hurricanes has this huge, humongous offensive line. And what I'm going to urge them to do is do your doggone job. Do your job, sustain your blocks, and these receivers go downfield, block these DBs, and you're going to pop a good long run. So if you sustain your block, do your job. Do your damn job. Your assignment has to go forward, and you do it. Don't let off these blocks. Don't just shove a guy and just drive him around. That's what you need to do. And once it open up them lanes to run, then these guys going to start paying attention to that run. Then you go up top on them, and that's where we're going to beat them. So that's what's got need to happen. Do your job. Do your assignment. Everything that you practice this week, you make sure you memorize that stuff and do your job. I remember when I played DC, our coach prayed, and our prayer before the game is to remember your plays, do your job, and guess what? We think we'll be victorious. Just remembering what we was taught throughout the Miami Hurricanes has to do tonight. Yeah.
I agree, and according to Tony as well, is you're looking at the running game is going to open up the passing game for these two very talented freshman receivers that we have. Is Malachi Tony and CJ Daniels. I mean, once that running game starts to pop in, and this is my assessment of it as well, to add to everyone's, including Tony's, is I think Mark Fletcher Jr. is going to have a good night tonight. I really do think that he's going to pop some big runs. And I'm not just saying Mark Fletcher Jr. because they have other running backs on their roster that's going to be highly capable and possibly effective tonight. But it just seems to me Mark Fletcher Jr., the way he runs the football and the way he's able to read off of his blocks and he's able to, he's a power runner as well, which to me is equally as impressive, is a more finesse runner. And that's what I'm saying right there is when you're talking about having a power and a finesse runner packed into one, that's something special, I think. Those type of running backs come along a dime a dozen that they can.
See, that's why I'm saying that the linemen just sustain your blocks, because as a good runner as he is, he'll pick and choose his holes. Just freaking hit your guy, blow him out of the hole, and sustain those blocks. And the running back, when you're a talented runner, you got those eyes to see the little creases when they're there. Just take them off, hit the hole, and don't be tiptoeing back there. Hit the holes hard, and man, they're going to wear those guys out. Because I'm telling you right now, if you look at that line of the Miami Hurricanes with a 300 plus, you got a battle. It's going to be a freaking battle in that trenches. And what we need to do is just hit, sustain, move these guys out of the way. And the running backs will do their thing from there.
Absolutely. So here's the thing, too, is Louisville is ranked 8th in the country, according to this information that I'm reading now, in passing defense. So right now, Louisville is sitting on 8 with allowing 150 yards on average on pass defense. However, their running defense is not even, in terms of total defense, they're not ranked in the top 10. So that's where Tony was saying about this running game, that they can exploit Louisville's defensive alignments and things of that sort with a solid running game, which that play action, because you could always be reassured that play action pass, with that running game being as strong as it is, they got to bring people up and they got to bring people into the box. And with that play action pass, Malachi Tony and CJ Daniels and that talented Miami tight end that they have can really make some big catches today and score a lot. Wouldn't you think, Najee?
No, yeah, but I didn't even know their defense was that bad on running. Then run the ball, man. Run the ball, because it's already going to make them tired easier anyway. When you run the ball, the defense wears down already. So if you can wear the defense down easy and fast, they can throw the ball all day, because then they're gonna, bro. Then it's gonna be free game after that. Free game after that, after they get tired. Go ahead and run that ball, man.
Run them guys down. Listen, DC, run them down just like Najee just mentioned. Run at them hardcore, and when the moment one of them put their hands on their hips, start throwing it.
Yeah, because they're gassed when they start putting their hands on their hips, especially those big linemen. When you start to see them breathing deep and trying to catch their breath and stuff, that you have things in control to that level, right?
Yes, sir.
So when you impose your will on a team, the only way to do it is run. That's the only way to do it, is to run. I mean, if you come to that point where you're imposing your will on the ground, I mean, they have to come up, and then their defensive backs start to make mistakes and start closing their eyes and ducking their heads because they don't want to make tackles after the guy done got past the first level of the defense and, things of that sort. So I would just say this, that I do know Shannon Dawson's got an excellent game plan tonight on offense, and it's going to be impressive and it's going to be exciting to watch. So let's talk about Tony's perspective on the defensive side. Miami attacks their strength, the passing game, and Miller Moss is a very formidable quarterback. Miller Moss is the starting quarterback for the Louisville Cardinals, and technically Miller Moss, he's not a mobile quarterback, but he can get out of the way of a rush in a sense where if it's not too bad for him back in that pocket where it's collapsing around him quickly, I think he can get the ball off. And Louisville is probably going to come with some, pass packages where they're going to be throwing the ball and some of the movements that Louisville have when it comes to their offense. Because if you look at how offenses work a lot of times, movement causes a defense to have to make a decision whether to play man or zone. Because whenever you see a wide receiver or a split end or, a flanker and they start to go into motion across, and a defender follow them, that's generally a man situation. And it could change on a dime because a lot of defensive coordinators, they try to mix in man on zone. But however, Miller Moss is going to have to make some quick decisions tonight because of Ruben Bain Jr. and Mesidor and all of those other guys on that defense. They're going to be relentlessly pass rushing Miller Moss. So, Isaiah, what do you think Miami's defense needs to do other than the fact to just come in there like a bunch of wild dogs, a pack of wild dogs?
Yeah, they got the smash mouth on DC. I mean, they got to put pressure on and run their stunts in there. And, they got to disturb that quarterback because you can't let that guy get back there and just have all the time because he'll pick you apart. And also he'll tuck the ball and run. So if Bain get in there and pressure him where he don't have that comfortable spot back there, we're going to see some successes on that defense. And I'm looking to see some picks, man. The Hurricanes defense plays really good ball, but I want to see some picks out of there, some turnovers where they can give our offense more opportunity to score. That's what I'm looking for tonight. Yes, I am. Yep.
So
I definitely agree with that because that can definitely help their offense if you already give them good, you give them great field possession. It's because their defense is always going to hold up. That's the one thing I'm not worried about is their defense, is because we already know their offense struggles in the second half. So the defense, and when you talk about getting turnovers, yeah, that would be the best thing because at least that can rev them up a little bit so they can gain confidence in the second half. So I agree with that, Isaiah. I agree with that.
Hey, you know what? The coach for Louisville, Jeff Brom, and I don't know whether you guys remember Jeff Brom. He was a quarterback at Louisville and an exceptional quarterback at Louisville. He's the head coach of Louisville, and it looks like in week 6 of the 2025 season, his career record is 89-53 at Louisville, including a 23-9 mark in 2 seasons at Louisville. So Louisville is no pushover of a team by any means with them being in the ACC. And they're going to be vying to try to get to that ACC championship, which this may be the precursor tonight of these two teams possibly meeting again, depending on how the outcome of the season works out. Miami, I'm going to just be confident to say that they're going to be undefeated going into that game. I don't see Miami losing tonight or any other night for that matter. So one thing is for sure, it's going to be some head banging, but according to Tony, the Louisville offensive line is somewhat subpar. So that all goes back to what we just talked about, where the defense can exploit that. And Corey Heatherman, who's the defensive coordinator for Miami, he's got these youngsters, man. He's got these kids with a newfound level of energy. And what I mean by that, I've watched Miami play for the last 10 years. And within those 10 years, they've had good defenses. They haven't had really porous defenses. However, it just seems like this team this year, on both sides of the ball, but mainly on defense, that I agree with Najee 100%. That defense is going to keep them afloat. That defense is going to be putting that pressure on Miller Moss. And more likely, Jeff Brom they're going to shotgun Miller Moss. So they're going to have to get to him in a shotgun alignment and just not allow Louisville to do anything on offense. If it's because one thing is for sure, once they start crashing those edges, that pocket breaks down really, really fast.
It'll collapse on you.
It'll collapse on you. And that's something that Miller Moss is going to have to recognize tonight, and he's going to have to make quick throws. And that's what we might see at first from Louisville is these quick throws. Get the ball out of your hand before a defense like Miami's can collapse that pocket and get in there to do what they need to do. So Louisville wide receiver course led by Chris Bell is deep. Miami's DBs will bring it and they'll be on, according to Tony. Louisville is a tough opponent. They're not going to go down without a fight. I totally agree with that 110% tonight. This is a very formidable game, and Miami is at number 2 in the country right now. And they need to maintain that level of winning to the point where don't allow Louisville to stay in this game. They can't allow Louisville to stay and hang around in this game until the very end, kind of like what Florida State did 2 weeks ago, where it gives a team life. It gives a team somewhat of a confidence that, look, we're only 10 points down or we're only 14 points down. Within a striking range, we could be either tied or leading this game, leading into the fourth quarter or even late into the fourth quarter. One thing, go ahead.
The game plan, what I see, should be just like the week before last when they started out extremely fast. DC, grab these early touchdowns and then keep it going. Just don't fall off, because what they did, they came out and bust out a couple of touchdowns and got up to like 17 points, and then they was like folded their arms like, we got this. But you can't say that, because a good team will come back, and that's what happened to them. We almost gave a game away doing that. So I want them to come out fast and continue to play hard, continue to gain tackle, continue to follow your blocks and do your job throughout the whole entire game. You got to play all 4 quarters to beat these teams, because championship teams, that's what they do.
That's what they're built to do, right?
And yes, of course. Come out fast and stay like that. Don't start messing around in that second half, man. The only way I could have imagined the Miami Hurricanes slack off like that, if you would have started trading out players, putting the second string in. Now I could have understood that comeback. But the comeback with everybody still intact, you didn't take anybody out, and the fall off where you almost was fighting at the tail end of the game to win, that's unacceptable. So I urge the Miami Hurricanes, my team, my youth, to go out there and bust butt the moment that first whistle blow until it stops, until you see all zeros over across the clock. That's when you say, okay, we got this.
Absolutely.
That's the way you have it.
Absolutely. And I see Tony made some more comments. And, Tony, my computer's a little bit slow today, but his assessment of Mark Clayton deserves to be in Canton. Do you guys agree with that? Mark Clayton, the retired Miami Dolphin, needs to be in Canton, Ohio, in the Hall of Fame.
Of course.
Absolutely.
I mean, of course.
Absolutely,
that trio
without a doubt.
There. The whole entire trio, man. Dan Marino, Duper, and Clayton. That trio should be there.
Exactly.
Because, I think, if I'm not mistaken, anybody who came close, their trio is there. So I think with remember Bradshaw, Stallworth, and Swan, that trio, that was a really dynamic trio. And then you got the Michael Irvins and those guys, and then you had Rice and all those guys, Jerry Rice, those trios. I think they're there. So I think they need to put Clayton in there, man, because Clayton was the biggest part of it. Because Clayton was actually the cleanup man. Because
he was the cleanup man.
He used to be the one. Duper was the one that ran all of those fast
deep routes. He ran all those go routes back then.
He didn't get the hit, but the Clayton was doing all that dirty cleanup stuff underneath where they need a first down. He would run little curls and stuff like that and sustain drives, man. So, yeah, he was very important to that offense.
Well, Mark Clayton was the type of receiver. He reminded me, and him and John Taylor for the 49ers style was a lot similar together, where they could take a 15 in or out and go the distance. They can make defenders miss. He was built that way. Mark Clayton was built to take a pass like that and just take it all the way to the house. Duper was more of a deep runner. Duper was the type of guy that he had so much speed, because most people don't remember that Duper had a lot of track speed back then. Back then, Duper was a track.
Like Tyree.
Exactly.
He was like Tyree.
Exactly.
Tyree
at his time, he was more like Tyreek Hill, where he ran track at Northwest Louisiana. Mark Duper did. So he was a track star, basically taught to catch the ball, and Marino knew where to throw it, and he knew how high to throw it and how far to throw it, right?
Yeah, and he had that beautiful quick release and just throw it up there and Duper run under it.
He run right up under it so many different times. But my most memorable moment of Mark Clayton is in that Bears game, and with that 85 Bears team when they came to town to try to break Miami's record. Clayton had the best game in that game to me because he was able to take several passes. I think Fensick from Chicago tipped the ball, and it tipped it right into Clayton's hand for a touchdown on that Monday night game. So Mark Clayton, if the NFL is listening, which they gonna have to hear from us at some point, especially about Lester Hayes at some point, because I'm gonna start writing letters if I have to. That Lester Hayes belongs in that Hall of Fame, and Mark Clayton belongs into that Hall of Fame without a doubt. Why are these guys still sitting without a Hall of Fame induction? And you got, all of these guys who were first ballot, which I highly respect. But
DC, I know how you can backdoor that conversation too, man.
How?
Because how they got a topic right now with the NFL with the halftime show with Bad Bunny and say, oh, by the way, why the hell is Duper not in the Hall of Fame? That's how you can get their attention.
Absolutely.
You can backdoor the conversation.
Well, I'm an avid believer that if a player played as long as Duper and Lester Hayes played, there is no question that these two guys made their mark on the NFL to be in Canton, Ohio. I don't know what the NFL is not seeing in that. I know they have to be nominated to be in the Hall of Fame, but they got our nomination here on this show. So guess what? They got 3 nominations already, and plus Tony's nomination as well. So they got 4. 4 people are nominating Lester Hayes and Mark Clayton to be in the Hall of Fame. So let's get back on the topic in the matter at hand. We were talking about Miami because we kind of went off a little bit, but overall, I think the Miami Hurricanes are going to show up tonight, and I'm confident that they're going to show up tonight because they have everything to lose tonight. Louisville doesn't have everything to lose like Miami has to lose tonight. If Miami lose this game tonight, they're going to at least fall 4 to 8 positions down, potentially. At least.
Louisville's not even ranked, so they ain't got nothing to worry about.
Exactly.
They got everything in the game.
What's Louisville's record?
4-1.
Okay. That's not a bad record, though, man. Because remember, you got the Notre Dames of the world has got 2 losses, and they're trending on being in the playoffs. So Louisville got a slight argument.
They do.
They're 4-1.
They do. And they are technically 1-1 in the conference. So if Miami had lost any conference games, because everything is about the conference now, right? I mean, these other teams you play is one thing, but if you lose a conference game, that's a big hit. That's a big ding against you.
Yes, it is. And that can sway whether you get in the playoffs or not more dramatically.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, wins and losses matter. However, when you losing in the conference, that's pretty devastating and a big detriment to you trying to make it into the playoffs, So any other comments, Isaiah, on what is needed, or what do you think? How do you think this game is going to go down tonight? And give me a prediction, by the way.
Well, I'm predicting us winning the game by 2 touchdowns, but I want to make sure our guys stay focused. That's all I want. If we can just stay focused, do our job, sustain our blocks, run hard, I think we'll come out victorious, man. And that's the way they need to take on the whole entire season. Just that way. Come out fast, smash mouth, and do your doggone job. That's it. Because I'm looking at our talent level, DC. We got a well-coached team. We got the players intact. We got the big boys up front. I mean, the Hurricanes hadn't had this type of chemistry in many years.
That's true.
Many years.
And that's what I was stressing earlier, right? They just hadn't had the type of chemistry or the staying power to be able to win games that they needed to win at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at the fact that, we were so unbalanced where we might have a decent running game, but we didn't have a quarterback to throw the ball to receivers, or then we had a decent quarterback and then we had some slow receivers who drop balls and stuff like that. We don't have none of that stuff. None. So
Uh,
that's why we need to be the number one and win a national championship this year. Because we keep saying number two, we rank number two, but there's several polls that have us at number one. Several polls has us at number one.
yes.
So
Yes.
we got to play just like we're number one. That's what we got to do. Come out fast and sustain that thing. So
Yeah,
that's
because with
going to be
that
the name of the
mojo,
game.
you just got to have that mojo, and I think they got it now for sure. That they gonna get this handled tonight for sure. So let's go on to our next topic, and Andy Brown wants to know. I read an article that the AD. By the way, James Franklin, Penn State's coach for 12 years, was fired. He was fired for not winning the games that he was technically supposed to win, which they consider big games. The AD from Penn State said that was highly predicated. The firing determination was predicated on the fact that, I guess, and this is my assertion of it, they sat James Franklin down and they probably tried to do what they did or tried to do to Mark Richt.
Yeah.
You had to have an improvement plan for next year, technically. Not an improvement plan, but you got to have a structure of what the team is going to look like the next year. And you got to present that to people like the AD and the president or whoever else has got a high-level position within that athletic department. And you sit down and you say, look, this is what our schedule looks like. These are the games we need to win. The other games should be easy, like the UCLA one they lost and the Northwestern one they lost. Those were games they definitely should not have lost, of course. But the game against Oregon, which Oregon is a very formidable team. Now, Oregon was able to go into Beaver Stadium and beat them in double overtime. But just over the past few years, the losses to Michigan, the losses to Ohio State, the losses to teams like, for example, Indiana, which Indiana is a top-notch program, by the way, now, since Curt Cignetti has been there. The AD said that he got rid of James Franklin because of that. So, Isaiah, what's your take on that? I mean, you think that should have been, his termination in the middle of the season should have been predicated on his inability to win big games instead of losing against the UCLAs and the Northwesterns of the world?
Well, I think it was premature, DC. It was like a "what have you done for me lately" ordeal with them, and I think it was still stupid and immature and premature for them to do that because it's just people don't understand what they're looking for. I mean, when you think the grass is greener on the other side, I've seen teams make those premature fires and they never recover from it, man. Because if you look at his body of work, he's got a damn good record, man. I mean, you look at football, the way football is a roller coaster and a merry-go-round, man, where you don't get that balanced coach. I mean, it ain't that many Nick Sabans out there, man. I mean, you got to understand that. People got to understand that. Just look at Dabo Sweeney, for instance. Look at him. This is the same guy who's in a rut right now, who was kicking butt for years. But
True.
right now, circumstances happen. And this is what's going on at Penn State. The guy hit a couple glitches. He got a couple snags, and you can the man. I think it was bad, man, and it just don't look right. And then if they did give him a report card to bring him in there, it's offensive, man. It's freaking offensive to get a guy who had that type of body of work and wins under his belt and not let him finish the season out. I would have wanted to let this guy finish this season out and see how the tail end of this season end before you pull the trigger on him like that. I just think it's despicable, man, to be honest with you. I just don't agree with it. It's really, really wrong. And I don't know whether they're going to get a coach that's going to come right in there and recover from it. So it just don't happen because they're already losing recruits because of it. So they might have made a big to the program by doing that.
That's a point well stated about recruits. So, Najee, what do you think about his termination based on his inability to win big games?
Well, basically what I told you last time when we spoke on it, like it was probably already fed overdue, man. Like that makes it even worse that you want him out of there so bad that you didn't even have a backup plan to recover from it. And then of course, who wants their kids from high school or whatever to go over there and go into that wildfire? You're already going to set my child up for disaster when it comes to his draft pick and his stock.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing that they're unstable. I don't want to go into an unstable situation, especially as a child that's growing up, a young man that's growing up to become a man, to understand the different levels of football and also the business, because that's also a business. So now you're showing them that y'all not even good for business.
Yeah, and that's a great point you brought up, because fans at the stadium were beginning to protest with brown bags on their heads, and seats were beginning to start to empty in terms of their potential to be able to sell out that stadium against teams in the future. So I think maybe some of that was taken into consideration as well, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is revenue. How much revenue can that program generate? And, Penn State Stadium, they always talk about the big house in Michigan. That's Beaver Stadium, I think, hold up to 100,000 people, if I'm not mistaken, at least 80 or something like that. So they want every seat filled. They don't want any empty seats, especially when they're playing at home, because the more seats that are filled, the more beer they're going to sell, the more food they're going to sell, the more they're going to get out of parking. I mean, it's just a dynamic element of revenue that just pours into a school like that they can't risk putting that at risk or in jeopardy, correct?
It's going to be risky when you bring in somebody who don't recover from it, DC, and that's the most risky part about it. And we talk about a financial aspect of this game, man. They got to polish off his contract and bring somebody in who's going to want the same amount of money you just paid Franklin. So you're going to be talking somewhere in the neighborhood of $100 million worth of salaries you got to pay out. And then that don't mean you're going to be winning. It don't really constitute the fact that you're going to start winning.
It might take you a while to even get up there.
Just think about it, man. They think that firing is an easy task, but it's not. It's the most difficult thing you can imagine when you get rid of somebody like that, because you got to bring a guy in, pay him the same amount of money you paid Franklin. Then you got to bring his staff in, and then some of the recruits going to take off running, and then you still going to lose.
Well,
I just don't think it was.
Let me interject my opinion in on what you just said, Isaiah, which is true. Now, if they bring a high-profile coach up in there, sure, they're going to have to pay something very similar or more than James Franklin earned. But if they bring an up-and-coming, ambitious young coach in there, he ain't going to be able to command no bunch of money. Let's just say they get lucky and they able to get Shannon Dawson in there. They ain't going to pay Shannon Dawson that kind of money to start coaching that team. They're not going to give it to him. He's going to have to work his way in and earn that money over time in the next several seasons. And if he flip it over really quick, sure, they're going to have to renegotiate his contract, correct?
Well, most guys like Shannon Dawson with that type of talent that Shannon Dawson entails, he'll stay his rear end right where he is.
Well, we hope he does. I don't want Shannon Dawson going nowhere.
I sure the hell hope he does, but let me tell you right now, when you got a situation like Shannon Dawson, when you're making a good bit of money right now, and you don't have everything dangling over your head as a head coach, you're the offensive coordinator, and you're responsible for your offense, you're not going into this wildfire and going over there and the guy's not going to pay you accordingly. Dude, if you think about it, the guys who's getting paid that kind of money are the ones at the elite programs, and that's an elite program, and they know you can pay it. I'm not going there taking those pennies. I'm not going there and saying, okay, I'm brand new, so I'll take this. No, the hell you not. You're going to pay me accordingly because you guys got the money. That's the way these guys got to look at it. The ones who come in there and take that job, make them pay you accordingly. Don't go in there taking no peanuts because, I'm brand new. No. If you guys go into that program, they got rid of a guy, got to still pay him $50 million. Now give me mine. That's what I'll be saying.
Well,
So
if you
you're
have
not
the
gonna
track
come in here
record
and
to
tell
say,
me.
give me mine, sure. But if you don't have that track record that you've never been a head coach before, and I'm just referring mainly to coordinators, if they were to bring a coordinator in there to try to, have them head coach the team, you can't command that kind of, you can't even make that kind of demand. You could, but they ain't gonna listen to you. Now here's a good one for you. It looks
Well,
like
that's why I'll stay
Shannon
put.
Dawson rejected $2 million that was offered from LSU back. This was an article from July 24th, 2025, that LSU had came a knocking on his door, and they offered him $2 million a year to go to LSU, and he rejected it. So
You know why? DC, it was offensive, my friend. It was offensive. You take just think about that now. You got a beautiful town like Miami, and you gonna go over there to the West Coast over there to
Baton Rouge,
Louisiana. Come on,
Louisiana.
man. You gotta be nuts. You got to be nuts. You gotta be. To leave a program like that where you under Cristobal where you got everything in place. Yeah, he did the right thing. Shannon Dawson, stay right here. You're going to get your national championship, bro. Stay right here.
Yeah, I was just trying to pull up right
Yeah.
now to see what his salary was as a coordinator, because I was just interested to know, because, Miami, one
Easily could be
thing,
making that right now, DC. He could be making that right now, dog.
I'm assuming
just
that he
think
is,
about it,
because
DC.
Cristobal got those guys paid, especially those coordinators,
Of course he did. Of course he did. Cristobal is running the show down there. So if his offensive coordinator wants $2 million and he's making around 8 or 9, he's gonna be able to get that money. He'll be able to get $2 million for his offensive coordinator. And if he get them boosters to put in some money or something, they're gonna get that money for him. Somebody's gonna make sure he get pulled off. The
that's
school
for
will be able
sure.
to raise that kind of money. The school will be able to give him that kind of money. Because I guarantee you, there's many offensive coordinators making as much as $2 million, and you can bet that. I guarantee you that.
Well, here's the
Because
deal, and let's get back to James Franklin, because we love Shannon Dawson. We ain't want him going nowhere. We want him staying at Miami. Stay there as long as you need to stay there, and maybe one day he could head coach Miami if Cristobal decides to step back or whatever, for the reason being. Let's just say this: who are the most sensible person to bring into Penn State, would you say right now? I mean, in terms of your experience with some of the coaches that are in the Power 5 conferences. And by the way, you were absolutely right, Isaiah. They have lost a recruit, a quarterback, a top-level quarterback out of Southern California, San Marcos. They have lost Troy Huhn, a 4-star quarterback from San Marcos, California, has pulled his commitment, leaving the Nittany Lions scrambling in their 2026 class. And Troy Huhn is not the only one. It's going to be quite a few of those kids that's not going to want to play there now. Because if you look at the dynamic of how it works when a coach recruits players, those players want to come and play for that coach. They don't want to come and play for someone else, right? Is that the way it works?
Something. I experienced this stuff my own self, man, and I know it. You take a guy like Franklin, Coach Franklin, goes inside of a home, sit down with the mom and dad, and tell them, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to turn your kid into a man. He's a young man coming out of high school, and the family love him. 6 months later, this guy is out of a job. He didn't quit. You fired the guy. So you know how offensive that family gonna be, because now it was almost like you sold them a bit of goods. The school stabbed them in the back by
Right.
sending this guy over there who was charismatic, who was well spoken, who was candid about the college and how he would take care of them. And then you don't have enough fortitude to let the guy finish the season out. They're not letting their kid go over there, man. They're not. And commend the family members who pulled that lever and told him, son, you're not going there. Look what they did to the coach. The same young man who came in here and he was so forthcoming and talked about this university, how it was beautiful and great and gave us the glitz and the glamour of the school, and they clipped him. So you're not going there. So now they're in a tough position because recruits mean so much to a program. And, there's already a lot of tugging and fighting throughout the whole country to get good players. And then you get rid of your coach, and all of a sudden that big, huge fight that you got to get this guy to commit to your university, you get rid of the coach, and now he pulled back. See?
Yeah.
You get what you asked for because you didn't even honor the man's contract. You fired him in the middle of the season. You didn't even wait till the season was over. That's how devastating this firing is, DC. When you get rid of a man in the middle of the season, that means I can't stand you. I can't even let you finish this season out. It's just.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat offensive to me that they didn't let him finish the season out to see.
For 12 years, you honored this man.
So Najee, tell us your take on this as well about this this young man decommitting from Penn State.
Oh, bro, just like what I just said, like, bro, like just like I said, who wants to bring somebody into to a bad environment already? Like, you don't want to start off like if you already invested enough and you already then you have most likely got to weather the storm. But who wants to jump into a bad situation?
Absolutely,
nobody wants to jump into a bad situation because now you're already under the fire. There's a bad atmosphere. There's bad energy. It's just the mood is gonna be like you don't want to walk into it. Every time you walk in, you got to walk in pins and needles. Be like, oh man, I ain't trying to even see these people today. I ain't trying to see this.
It's well put because understand something too, DC. Understand something too, DC. You got to think about the players that's currently already there. You just got rid of their father.
That too.
The father. Man, you just think about that now. You can a guy and all of these kids that's looking to him as their father, and you clip this guy. We don't even know how this storm going to end because the kid's not going to quit in the middle of the season. They're going to wait to the end of the season and they're going to jump that portal on you. We don't know how many kids going to defect from the University of Penn State. We don't know that yet. We don't know how severe this damage is. The only thing they worried about, we're going to pay this guy this $50 million, and we just lost one recruit. Now imagine if 6 or 7 or 8 to 10 of these players jump ship too, man.
That's a good point. Don't know. That's a very good point.
Franklin probably going to get another job when somebody else gets fired, and them kids might take off over there where he's going. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I looked at the chemistry of his team, man. Those kids loved him, man.
Oh, I'm
telling you.
They did. And you could tell his relationships with each one of his players were one-on-one relationships, a personal relationship, like you say, from a perspective of a father figure type of perspective. This is what I picked up when I was watching him interact with his kids at Penn State. Even his assistant coaches, man, he thought the world of his assistant coaches. I mean, when they were winning, he'd go over and he'd clown with his assistant coaches like the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator. But that stuff don't mean nothing when it comes to losing. If you keep losing, they're going to get rid of you. They ain't going to keep you around. They don't care how popular you are or none of that stuff. They just going to get rid of you and try to cut their losses by moving on to something else, which, like you say, they're not 100% sure whether someone else is going to be able to come in and turn it around. But that remains to be seen. Now, here's some new news for you. Curt Cignetti, and we talked about Curt Cignetti last week. Super talented, good coach. He coached at James Madison, turned that program, and now he's at Indiana. Indiana was able to go on the road last week and beat Oregon at Oregon Indiana has really made a big splash by signing him to an 8-year, $93 million contract.
Yeah.
They are saying, look, you're not going to get him up out of here. You're not going to offer him nothing to bring him up out of here. Period. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you know what, DC? More power to them, man. And that shows you the dedication and appreciation for your coach, man. And it's just like we were saying with Franklin, how they disrespect him, but Indiana is showing you the level of respect for they have for their coach. They restructured this man contract in the middle of the season, and they fired Franklin in the middle of the season for disrespect. I mean, it's just backwards.
Yeah.
It's backwards. You gratify and hug a guy and show him love because you had a really good season. That's what you do. But then you go as far as firing your head coach in the middle of the season. It's backwards. It's backwards, man. Franklin, I think he's a talented guy. He would land on his feet. He would get another good job similar to
Kevin Sumlin was
going to be all right.
Yeah, Kevin Sumlin got fired at A&M. He ended up going to Arizona. Then he got fired at Arizona. He's no longer coaching at the college level right now. But
you don't have to. He's worth $100 and something million. He collected a lot of money when they fired that guy. I think he made more money on collections than any other person I know in coaching.
So technically, Kevin Sumlin got fired and made a living out of it, and he got rich off of getting fired, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's making money right now, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Najee, I'm going to ask you one last thing before we move on to the next topic. Florida, there has been rumors that Billy Napier he might not survive this weekend. What do you think? They came up short when they played Texas A&M at Texas A&M. I guess the boosters have just kind of come to the conclusion that they want to see a different direction. According to sources that the athletic director was told by people who put money behind that program that, look, this program needs to go in a different direction if we're going to keep supporting it. What do you think about that, Najee?
Well, guess what? Penn State already done set the table for that. They might just do it because if it works for them, they're gonna be like, you know what, we need to cut our ties too. They probably if these guys are willing to get rid of you in mid-season, they mean this season is gone for them and they're ready to move on for the next seasons. What's the better time to do it but to do it mid-season so you can build for the rest of this garbage season and just start the new season fresh.
Yeah. I think it's just going to be a matter of how fast they want to do it based on, whatever, I guess, the mood is at the time. Because here's a list of coaches that are going to be gone more than likely. It's going to be Mike Norvell is getting hot. Luke Fickell is at Wisconsin is hot. It's hot sauce hot. I would say.
Listen, I think that Norville thing is really flaming.
It is.
It is really flaming, man. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, they thought these guys was gonna beat the Hurricanes, and when the Hurricane came in and smashed them, they was really looking at Norville cockeyed at DC, and because this is the thing what they thought he was gonna turn around because he had a poor season last year. So then when he came out strong in the beginning, they thought, oh, we're back on track. Because the previous year he was smoking, he almost went to the national championship.
Well, he was undefeated the previous year. They had Jordan Travis until he broke his leg.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So this is what they're looking at with him. I think his seat is the hottest, man, out of all of them. I mean, really,
I would agree.
It could potentially be two big-time Florida jobs open, Florida and Florida State.
That's right. And the Florida State one is super attractive. I mean, just the program itself and the history behind the program and just the whole dynamic of that Florida State program, that's going to be a really attractive job for a lot of coaches who probably going to be interested in going down there. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at the top five right now: Norvell, Fickell, Hugh Freeze at Auburn, especially if Auburn loses against Alabama and they don't.
They're going to.
They're going to walk Hugh Freeze out, and Napier, of course. So I tell you what, they're all going to land on their feet, especially Norvell. Norvell would probably be owed up to $54 million if they let him go. And I don't think I could lose much sleep if I might be hurt maybe 24 hours, maybe my ego may be damaged. And then I can see that bank account the next few days, and I wouldn't be worried about nothing.
DC, Florida State has gotten used to paying out money like
Absolutely.
that.
They have the boosters to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, but they just paid out money to what's the guy name went over to FAU?
You're talking about Willie Taggart, right?
When they had to pay Willie Taggart an enormous amount of money as well. So, and they fired Taggart, man, and he came from Norvell, and they didn't improve. This is the thing I keep saying.
Well, I'll beg to differ with you with that. When Norvell got there, it took him about a year or two to get that program in order, but it did improve under Norvell. I'm gonna give him credit on that.
How the hell did it improve when they get ready to can the guy, man?
He went 13-0 3 years ago, right?
What have you done for me lately, DC?
Technically, Florida State was kept out of it because the committee said that Alabama deserved to be in there with 2 losses against a team that was unfreaking defeated. How can you justify that? Tell me.
DC, understand you're not getting the whole grasp of this thing. They signed the man for a several-year contract, for at least 6-year contract.
I think it was 8 years. They just signed him.
He's not fulfilling the damn contract. DC, this.
Well, right now he's not.
Half of it.
Right now he's not, for sure, and they're gonna have to assess that. You know.
Okay, then. So that's that. I made my point.
Well,
I made my point.
I'm just saying it's not like he went in there and he never got to that echelon level where they were 13-0, and they should have played. As far as I was concerned, they should have played Michigan. Alabama shouldn't have been in that game.
DC, we talking about one season out of an 8-year contract, man. Get your head in the damn game. He getting fired. He's getting ready to get clipped. You didn't sign a man for no damn 1 year. You gave him an 8-year contract, and now you got to pay him $50-something million. That means you fired the guy for nothing. You hired this guy for nothing. You fired Taggart for nothing then, because the guy who you brought in is not bringing you up to par. One season out of 8, and now you're canning his ass. So that means what they got out of it.
Well,
they should have gave him a 1-year deal.
Here's the thing, and we'll close this, and we're gonna move on to the NFL. Mike Norvell, his first year at Florida State, he went 3-3, technically, whatever that meant. 2024, he went 2-10. 2023, he went 13-1. 2022, he went 10-3. Right now, it's sitting ugly for him because over the last 2 years, he hadn't done much at all. So those 2 years have impacted his percentages when it comes to him keeping his job, and I think he will lose his job at some point in time. I just don't know when.
Thank you, partner. You just solidified my whole point.
There you go. And I love you too, by the way. I love you too. So let's move on to the NFL, and Andy Brown wants to know about Tua, the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. He made some comments about teammates that in the past that didn't show up to team meetings on time or at all. And come to find out, he was put out on a front street, that there was some meetings and things that he didn't make it on time as well. What do you think about that, Isaiah? And he apologized for some comments that he made last week, but I don't think that apology has been accepted by the Miami Dolphins faithful down there. Do you?
Bro, let me tell you right now, the man broke the law when it comes to football. He broke the law. You know the men, we have a man law. We got a team law. He crumbled that, man. I would never trust him one more day in my life as far as I can see him. He ran his damn mouth. Nobody should trust him anymore. He should have shut his damn mouth. Understand something, man. He's supposed to be the leader of this team. Understand what the Dolphins did for this guy. They got rid of a beautiful coach, great coach, who had
Brian Flores.
Yeah, yes, that's what I'm getting ready to say. They got rid of Flores. because they brung his sorry ass in there, right? Flores didn't want him. They brung him in there, and now he's running his damn mouth. Dude, you know what the Dolphins did for this guy? They fattened him up last year, and he shouldn't have got that kind of money, man. They just was honorable to him. He been having injuries his whole freaking career, judging back even in the college. I watched the play when they were playing Mississippi. I've never seen a player sustain that many injuries on one play.
Well, he got tackled by a defensive lineman, so that I can see it.
Does not matter. DC, it does not matter. That means he's soft as butter when you bring it out of a microwave. Okay? You get hit and get 3 major injuries. Major. And then the Dolphins pick him up, bring him here. Flores can't stand his guts because Flores already recognized that he was soft. And he didn't want him. And then they wind up getting rid of Flores because they know they made a big mistake. So to cut their freaking losses, they got rid of Flores instead of getting rid of the soft-ass quarterback that we got. Now he's in there running his damn mouth. Man, I wouldn't trust him at all. I won't go to his little parties that he have at his house. I will only do my job when he's on the field. And after that stuff, I won't even speak to him because he just totally broke the law, man. He shouldn't have opened his mouth. Once he walked out of that facility, he shouldn't talk to the media or nobody else about what's going on in that program. And his apology don't mean anything because he said what he felt on his heart and he got a backlash. That's the only reason why he apologized. Only reason why. So that's my take on it. And I'm standing by it.
You sound so personal about Tua, man. Is this that personal?
Yes. Remember, we've been playing football since we were 5 or 6 years old, DC.
True.
And we know how it goes.
Isaiah sounds like he's part of that locker room. Boy.
That's exactly what he sounds. He sounds like he's currently with the Miami Dolphins, right?
I was parading around there. I was running around
with my banners, and we covered the thing over there at the camp, and I'm looking for a prosperous season this year, and he gets up there running his mouth. And this is the healthiest he ever been. You tell me how much productivity he had going on. It starts with him and McDaniels, if you ask me. The head coach and the quarterback is the one that runs that team. And if you look at it from a deep perspective, you would get a nice packages, DC. Daniels, Tua, and the GM in one big box, and I'll ship them off.
Well, I've been saying that all along about Chris Greer. I don't know him, but I could tell you this. Ever since he's been GM there, he hadn't been. They haven't done anything much. Maybe 1 year. 1 year out of all those years he's been there as GM. He was behind bringing Tua in there. He was behind Cannon, Brian Flores. I would say if they're going to do anything, if Stephen Ross is going to turn his team, you just need to package him up and put one big old red bow on both of them and get them up out of there. That's the only thing I see. That's the only way I see it. You know, for that franchise to change and get better.
Amazon. Who should package? Who should come pick up the package and deliver? Amazon or UPS or United States Parcel?
I say United States Partial. I don't even give them that luxury at Amazon and UPS or FedEx. So here's the thing. He apologized. His main apology was
don't mean nothing
for the comments that he made from the loss to the Chargers when he criticized teammates for being late to players-only meetings. He opened his news conference Wednesday by apologizing for his comments and taking responsibility for their impact on his teammates. So here's the thing. I think he's lost the locker room. I think he's lost the respect of the locker room, like you say, by going outside and running his mouth, you know, in order to, I don't know for what motive that he had behind going to the media talking about things that go on internally within that organization. But I would say that it's hard for anybody to forgive him, right, Najee?
Let's see if they're going to let's see if they're going to even block for him the next few games. But So guess what? October 30th looking real promising. Mm-hmm.
And you're
Oh
talking
That's
about
what
your
I'm gonna tell you
Baltimore
right now.
Ravens visiting time
The
coming to town,
Baltimore
right?
Ravens versus the Dolphins. Yes. So
he's
guess
dry
what? If he
snitching,
gonna come out the
man.
mouth
We
like
don't
that
like snitches, man.
and lose his locker room, oh yeah, trust me. Guess what? That bet me looking real
Hey,
sweet for me.
Najee, let me
What's
tell you
up?
something, man.
What's up?
And Dolphins is my team. He'll be used to that
Mm-hmm.
anyway, dog.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
He used to that anyway, so he ain't worried about that. That's probably why he dry snitching, because they don't block for him anyway. That's probably
So
what he's saying.
where does Mike McDaniel fall into all of this, the head coach? I mean, where is he to say, look, this locker room needs to be sacred, this locker room needs to be private. Don't go out in the streets spreading things that go on in this locker room, because Antonio Brown did it on a FaceTime while he was in the locker room when Mike Tomlin was in there addressing the team,
Mm-hmm.
and that wasn't
Yeah,
acceptable. So where is Mike
absolutely.
McDaniel?
Well, DC, one thing about Mike McDaniel, I mean, what a good guy he is,
He
man. And
is a
that's what
good
he
guy. I
really
like
is.
him.
He's just a good guy, man. He's a guy who you would like bring to the party and drink a few beers with him and pick his brain, because he's a very, very intelligent guy, and he'll love to sit down and talk sports and family values with him, man, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what he is. But I think, just as me thinking this, I think he don't know where to draw the line, man. Because if you his friend, you his friend. So he don't know how to cut off that friend stuff and being your boss and your coach and all of that type of stuff. And that's why I think he's falling a tad short. Because if people don't come to your meeting, that means, dude, you don't have a job. If you're showing up late to the meeting, you don't have a job. I've seen coaches say you came in there 1 minute late, dude. You suspended, you getting fined, you're not playing. That's if you just come in there late. We talking about guys that wasn't showing up. I mean, listen, man. McDaniels is doing stuff like, I'm your brother, I'm your friend, and that's it. You do that with your son. You grab your son, give him an embrace and a snug and a kiss on the jaw and say, a fist bump, and I see you later, son. That's the kind of guy he is. But he's doing it with grown men, and he's already what 112 pounds. So they don't take him serious. You talking about a little guy that's just, man, thin little thing, and he's got these big old 6'7", 6'8" guys, 300 plus, looking up to him like this, and they looking down at him like the city. You calling plays, I mean, they don't respect him, DC, and that's sad because the guy is a cool guy. Now, what he would still be good at is an offensive coordinator. He just can't run this club because they're trampling all over him. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what's the problem. That's the problem.
I see. Well, in reference to you saying that he is not taking a total control of that locker room, it looks like Jimmy Johnson cut John Roper, who was a linebacker out of Texas A&M, just for falling asleep in a meeting. He snoozed a little bit and he got cut. So
out of there.
But them days are over. It's a different type of NFL now. It's not the same NFL that it was 40 years ago, 30 years ago. The evolution of the NFL is changed.
DC, I guarantee you couldn't go in there and sleep in Dan Campbell's meeting, bro.
You're not going to sleep in Dan Campbell's meeting. No, you're not. That's not going to happen.
Flores' meetings either. You're not sleeping in Flores' meetings either, or whatever. You're not.
True. That's a good point. Well stated. So here's the coaches that are on the hot seat. It looks like still New York Brian Daboll is on the hot seat. It looks like Mike McDaniel's name has been getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. Every time I read something, it's like people are calling for his job. Now here's a good one for you. Stephen A. Smith says that Mike McDaniel should be fired because he's not a leader. Is that true, Isaiah?
If it ain't come from Stephen A. Smith, I would say yeah. But yeah, sorry ass Stephen A. Smith. But anyway, yeah, man. He don't command respect, man, for real. These guys look at him as their little brother or their cousin or something like that. He's not that guy who you better not do this don't or else. He's not that guy. I mean, he don't look like that guy. His body stature don't command no whole lot of authority. None of that, man. He's just a really smart, cool guy to be around, and he can call some good plays. And that's what he's going to wind up, I think. He's going to be somebody's offensive coordinator or something, man.
That's possible, especially if he gets fired, and he will end up on somebody else's team. Definitely, for sure, no doubt about that. So one last thing before we move on to another topic, and then it will be our final topic. Why so harsh on Stephen A. Smith? What did he do to you?
Well, Stephen A. Smith have a tendency of trashing. He don't spew out this thing balanced. He just be all over the place. He would pull strings from here, and he more harsh on the brother man instead of the other man. And I see that happening too much. So that's why I say that. I think you need to lean on everybody the same way, because that's what I do. If you just mess it up, I'm going to give it to you raw, and I'm going to make sure I don't shortcut nothing. I'm going to make sure you know. But he challenged some of these people that he need to challenge across the board, and he don't dish it out the same way. I've seen him do it too many times. He did it just a couple of weeks ago when Serena Williams' husband checked him on his own show, and he put his tail between his legs and took off like a hurt dog. So I don't respect a man like that.
I hear you. So, last and final topic, and we're going to talk a little bit about the NBA, and I need Najee's expertise. That's my guy right there. Najee is my guy. I've been reading a lot of different articles on Russell Westbrook. Tell me a little bit about, according to this now, Westbrook signed a $3.6 million contract, a one-year deal with Sacramento. You think Sacramento should have signed him, or should he have just gone and retired? What do you think about that, Najee?
I mean, he's still better than a lot of players that's in the league. Why not? I mean, you still got people like Kyle Lowry in the league, and he's still better than Chris Paul. If Chris Paul was still playing in the league, Westbrook would be in the league. But
Kyle Lowry in there.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry. That's a good one right there. Kyle Lowry is still playing in the league.